EASIT, Easy Access for Social Inclusion Training.
My name is Pablo Romero. I work at the University of Vigo. And welcome to this fourth Multiply event of the EASIT project, of which I'm a partner. And the project is led by Ana Matamala at the University of Barcelona, at the UAB. So we'll start now a conversation with Susan and Oscar.
My name is Oscar Garcia. I'm coordinator for accessibility in Plena Inclusión Madrid, which is an organization devoted to people with intellectual disabilities, and I have several years of experience as an adapter into EASIT to read in Spanish.
Thank you, Oscar.
So I'm Susanne Jekert from Zurich University of Applied Sciences, and I'm head of the Swiss Competence Center for Barrier-Free Communication. We are doing research and teaching on audio description, audio introduction, live subtitling, and easy-to-read plain language, and so on. And as for the expertise, I'm now in the German consortium of the DIN norm, which is a normation agency from the state, where easy-to-read should be, where a norm for easy-to-read should be developed. And we are doing research and teaching on easy-to-read and plain language in 3 different languages: German, which is our main field, then Italian and French. Mm-hmm. And as for the impact of easy-to-read in, for example, live subtitling or audio description, I can clearly claim that this is very, very useful, and already some rules, for example, for audio description, point into the direction of easy to read and plain language. For example, you are told not to deliver more than one information within an audio description cut. So yeah, one information, she wears a red dress. These are already 3 or more informations, but keep it short and simple is the same for audio description and for audio introduction, because people have to hear it and they can better receive it if it's really clearly structured and feasible. And for live subtitling, easy to read is at our place is under discussion, because you have to simplify, because you have no time to subtitle or to write down everything the speaker says. So you have to simplify, and it would be better to have clear norms for simplifying.
And Susanne, can I ask you something about this? Yeah. I was speaking with Oscar about this now, and we were thinking, are you thinking about subtitles and audio description having just one version that is good for all, in a way that the easy to understand, including easy to read and plain language parameters, are included for everyone? Or are you thinking about a version that is devoted to this easy to understand concept, and another version that is another type of subtitles for, say, people with hearing loss? Are you thinking 2 versions or 1?
The best case would be 1 version feasible for all people, and then we cannot only talk about easy to read. We have to talk about comprehensible language. But yes. In our research, which what shows is that for German we have strict rules for easy to read. For Italian and French we have, let's say, sort of principles. Canonical sentence structure, so on. Only not many informations in one sentence, and so on. And if we use also these principles, we could deliver feasible versions for all. Because on the other hand, audio description is very expensive. Live subtitling is less expensive than audio description, but it is, and people should not feel that they have a special version because they cannot understand the other one. So I think, first of all, I would think of 1 version, but I don't know. This is research we do. Yeah, I don't know if this would be
feasible.
Feasible, yeah. So, or if this would reach all the people we want to reach with easy to read.
Oscar, do you think it's in Spain, if Susanne has mentioned audio description and subtitling. If we focus on subtitling, for example, do you think that the current guidelines that we have in Spain, which is the Norma UNE, does it allow for an easy to understand version within the only one version for everyone, or does it require a different version that doesn't follow the guidelines?
Current standard in Spain for subtitling has a limit because it asks for all the text that you are listening to. So
it's verbatim.
Yes, they have to be verbatim, and it offers some guidelines to manage how to deal with some words and some expression verbs, but it's not flexible at all. That has something to do with perception from deaf people that if subtitles are adapted, can be a way of paternalism or manipulation. And it has nothing to do with it. I think that the application of some easy-to-read guidelines would benefit the understanding of this subtitling, because subtitling should have two guidelines: time enough to read, time enough to understand. And if you are launching the subtitles in a very quick way, so you are not able, even competent readers aren't able to understand and process all the information you are reading on. So on the screen, think about a film with many dialogues. Mm-hmm. So if you have to read all the dialogues, it's very complicated to follow the whole film. But if you apply some guidelines of easy to read, it is much better, because subtitles are on the screen time enough to be read and to be understood.
Mm-hmm. So, Oscar, from your point of view, then it would seem that there's not much room within the Norma UNE, the guidelines. And at the moment, if you want to cater for people who need easy to understand subtitles, then you have to prepare a different version, or a version that doesn't abide by those guidelines, right?
Yes, that's unfortunately that's the point. If you want, I think that I do agree with Susanne, because it's better one track for subtitling, one version, and clear enough, a comprehensive language for subtitling. But if you want to ask for the standard in Spain, you wouldn't comply it if you do that.
Susanne, and in terms of research, what is it that you're thinking about, whether it's feasible, as you said before, to have that one version for everyone? And I guess, is that part of what you're testing at the moment? How are you testing it? How does research apply to all this?
We're just looking at Italian and French, because the rules for German do not apply for these languages. And in Switzerland, we have 4 languages, but the Rhaeto-Romanian is not considered at the moment because there are less speakers. But for the case of Italian and French, and I wonder whether this would not be the case for Spanish, we find that specific rules for easy to read do not apply, and the structure of Italian French is very different from German. So what we want to get at is some more general rules for comprehensible language. And this is what, and I agree with Oscar that we do not, with this comprehensible language, we do not meet easy to read, but we don't have. We have to note that the target group is very heterogeneous, and for example, for people with hearing impairment or people with visual impairment, we have the findings, neuronal findings, that these people use the capacity for hearing if they cannot hear, and the capacity for a visual input if they cannot see. They use it to process language. Yeah, that, for example, most of the people with hearing impairment can read much faster than people without impairments. And most blind people can recognize more and remember more details because they don't see, they just take the capacity for seeing. And so this is the one hand of the one part of the target group, and the other part is at least with learning learning impairments or even cognition impairments. So the question is whether we could ask people with cognition impairments or cognitive impairments to use a special channel for receiving subtitling. And just one remark, I wanted to add one topic for this EASIT and easy to read, which is interpretation into easy to read. Yeah, this is a difficult field, but in Germany, it's already offered by the state, for example. People do interpret into easy to read.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, Susanne, you're thinking about a type of comprehensive language that could be that one version that you want, that wouldn't be as verbatim as the guidelines, and it wouldn't be as modified as easy to read, but it would stand somewhere in between so that it can cater for all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in Germany, the discussion is that about these rules, if they are feasible, if we can use the rules already that already exist, or so, or if we have to invent something new, because comprehension is important for all people, and there is a large reject of easy to read because people who do not need it say, okay, if you cannot read, you have to learn it, and standard language develops worse if in case we use easy to read. But the argument against this would be if you have a rolling chair, other people would not can walk as well. And it's the same for easy to read. You do not need to use easy to read, and people develop. They get a better competence in standard language the more they use text and easy to read. And if they don't have text and easy to read, they have no access to reading and language development at all. So,
thank you very much, Susanne. This is very useful. So I take it that no conclusions yet, and this is an ongoing type of discussion. And Oscar, is there anything else that you'd like to add at your end?
Susanne pointed out something very interesting about people who have a cognition or learning problem or handicap. In this case, I think from the experience of our organization, because I work for Plena Inclusión Madrid, which is an organization specialized in people with intellectual disabilities. And if you ask these people to read on the screen the subtitles, it's quite difficult for them, because they have to follow quickly the subtitles that are launching on the screen. And even if it would be on easy to read, it would be also difficult for them, because it asks for them to a specific comprehension and also concentration. And people with the intellectual disabilities usually have less ability to be concentrated, to be focused on a point for a very long time. So that's why I think that subtitles in one track with a comprehensive language would be better, but thinking about a wider target, people with hearing difficulties and people with maybe elderly also, but we have that have also some reading competencies. Because if you focus on people with intellectual disabilities, you are asking for many competencies that they have to develop to read on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I answer?
Yes, of course.
I totally agree with Oscar. For example, we did a video with a man with hearing impairment, no cognitive impairment, and he read the live subtitles for a humor emission from the broadcast. He just didn't laugh at all. And then we analyzed the subtitles, and they did not even transport the things, or did not transfer the things that were said in the broadcast. But there are two different points. The one point is just the general principles on all these measures, and the other is the drive or the effort for individual solutions. And individual solutions are really very expensive. This is the thing, yeah. And if you think of actually, this is not just inclusion in culture, also, but also important informations about Corona, for example, about Corona measures. So people should get the information. So I don't know. I'm not decided to have this solution to have this comprehensible language, but I think we should think about it the more, because easy to read is discussed controversially. There's big controversy concerning easy to read and easy to read in the different languages.
Yeah, so it seems to me that there's two options here. I don't know that we have to choose, but two options. One would be this comprehensible language that kind of meets both sides halfway through, which would be on a little bit of the easy to read and a little bit of the kind of standard, somewhere in between. And the other option would be you keep the standard as it is, and then you provide a simplified, modified version that actually is not targeting only people with cognitive disabilities, but also people with some hearing disabilities and that would benefit from this. But this simplified version, if you like, has a prejudice attached to it, right? Mm-hmm. In a way that some people may not want to. I don't know. Maybe there's an option to actually choose between those two options, comprehensible or two versions, depending on the content.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but it seems, Oscar.
And not only the content, but also the costs. Because think about automated processing of subtitling. Currently, there are many projects and many tools that are developing this kind of automation in subtitling. If you want to apply some guidelines of easy to read or make something like more understandable subtitling, this halfway you are saying, we have to think about again on whether new algorithms or that people are working on subtitling again, doing hand by hand.
Very good.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So we have also to think about costs, not only
the costs,
not only that the point that it's true that some kind of prejudice, but if we have to choose a way, let's think about it, because it's developing an industry about it.
It is. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for having joined us today and for having given us a brief snapshot of how things are going Europe-wide and also in your countries. So thank you very much, Susan and Oscar, for being here. And we look forward to reading your research and your progress on the field.